Welcome to Baat Pachisi. On Baat Pachisi, we keep talking to very knowledgeable people with different background, different experience, cross-cultural, mindset and living experience. So once again, we are delighted to have with us Mr. Ram Kumar, who has been a student of Jawaharlal Nehru University, Delhi. Then he is basically a banker. He worked with State Bank of India, then later with Reserve Bank of India, and migrated to USA. And there, by chance, he started working with Federal Reserve Board, Washington. So let's connect with Mr. Ram Kumar and try to understand that what has been his experience in working, switching or nationality from India to USA, and how has been his experience, how his experience of working with a bank was utilized by a very interesting coincidence. So let's connect with Mr. Ram Kumar. Mr. Ram Kumar ji, welcome, sir. Thanks. Nice to have you with us.
Thank you, Mother Singh ji. Okay, so should I start now?
Sure, sir. Please give a brief of of your experience in working in India and then switching to USA, working there, and how do you compare both the situations? Because that is very interesting for so many people. Yes, sir.
Sure. Okay. First, if you want me to start with India, my experience is the same as all of us in those times had. It is very bureaucratic. Getting any job was a big thing, and getting a job in the those days, the private there was not much of private sector, so everybody wanted a government job. So you get into the UPSC or get into engineering and medical college, or get into one of the central recruitment like banks and insurance companies which had a national exam, for which was very difficult. All of these, the vacancies, the number of applicants to the number of vacancies, the ratio is probably 1 to 100, 1 to 1,000 or one more, even more than that. So State Bank of India, when I applied, during while I was still in JNU, I just took the exam. I really didn't think that I stood a chance because I never had an experience. So I just went and wrote the exam. For some reason, I was selected. I thought it has to be something genetic and something to my background. So, but not hard work. I didn't do any hard work at JNU to study for the bank exam. So probably a general upbringing and some genetics. I think I would really believe that. So I was selected as probationary officer, which was a big thing in those days.
Of course.
Yeah. So then I was going. In fact, my intention was to write the UPSC because my brother was already in the IAS. He was posted in Assam, Meghalaya. So that's why I came to JNU to begin with. But then since I got this, I didn't have the guts basically to say no, because I didn't have any background. We didn't have a lot of money, a family business, and of course my father wasn't alive. So I took it, and I was spent 2 years. I was posted in Bhopal Circle, like cadre, IAS as cadre. State Bank had circles for probationary officers. I mean, the administration, organization of State Bank of India is divided into circles. There's Madras Circle in those days, and
Yes.
Hyderabad Circle. Yeah, you're aware of that. So I was posted to Bhopal Circle. I didn't want. I wasn't happy because I had been in Chennai and Delhi all my life, but Delhi just 2 years. So I was posted to Ujjain, which is a very small town. You know Ujjain, I'm sure.
Yes.
It is a nice town. There's nothing wrong with it. It's and everybody. And I was, in fact, interestingly, when I took a house, usually the probationers, when they vacate, on probation, you are shifted around 4 or 5
Yes.
times within 2 years. So the first was Ujjain. There are already 4 or 5 people who were there. They were being going sent to another branch in Gwalior or Raipur. So they would vacate that and give it to us. So, and the flat I got, 3 or 4 of us shared, obviously, was
Yeah.
on Bethal Marg.
Metal mark.
Exactly. I told somebody this. I don't like being in a small. I said, what is this? Ujjain is such a historic place, and in Betal Marg, what has that got to do with my life today? But anyway, it was a very, very nice. It's one of the nicest town. People were nice. It was such a prosperous and they very agriculturally very rich. So Malwa region, I'm sure you know a lot more about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Everything was nice about it. But anyway, so for 2 years I was in State Bank. I wasn't happy being in Bhopal Circle because it is very difficult to get out, just like in the AS, to get out of that. Unless you became, after 20 years, you went to senior management, you stayed within the circle, regional manager, chief regional manager, and all that. So I tried to get out, and it so happened that I had written the Reserve Bank exam also. And then I got an offer from them. See, the difference between India and the US, State Bank of India, yes, you write the exam, and then by the time they send you join on this date, it takes about a year or something like that. You're one of it. When I wrote the exam, I was told, I know firm statistic, they selected probably 300 400 people, I guess, because it's in Bhopal Circle, they had about 20-25 of us. So I'm thinking probably 400 people nationwide, and some 350,000 people wrote the exam. So that is a kind of pressure those days getting any job. And then Reserve Bank was the same kind of thing. So if there the number of vacancies is only 100 or 120, something like that, in our batch.
Right.
For the whole country. So I got selected in Reserve Bank. Again, that took even longer, a year and a half. But if you want, you can stop me if you want. I had a very interesting experience when this tells you a lot about the recruitment process and all that. Firstly,
please tell us.
Yeah, India, this is the kind of thing we had to go through. Now the things have changed, but then my experience is this. So go through and finally you get selected. So you feel like, frankly, you feel like I must be a genius to be selected. Or at least you think that you feel good about yourself. So when State Bank of India, I was about to complete 2 years probation, and when I got, they said, the Reserve Bank sent me a letter saying that join their, like Lal Bahadur Academy. On State Bank has training center for people, fresh direct recruits in Hyderabad. That's what everyone reports. For Reserve Bank of India, it happens to be in Chennai, not very far from where I lived. So the staff training college, they call it. So we're asked to join there. So let's say they joined, on October 10th, you join. So great. So sometime around July or something like that, I told State Bank, I want to take some time off and just relax, take some, because I was already married at the time. I had my first daughter also. So I thought I'll take some time off. And I got relieved, all official, done deal. I was out of State Bank of India sometime, let's say in July, August, something like that, with a couple of months to go. Then with just about a month before, or month and a half, month before maybe, let's say, I get a letter from them saying that, hey, don't join, because the union, the clerical union, basically, has obtained a stay on direct recruitment. Yeah, on direct recruits, direct recruits. And I said, what the hell? I quit my job. And see, out of this 120 people, later on I found out, probably 100 of them were in jobs like this. Many of them were writing their civil services, all middle class people, most of them. So they are, but I was the one of the few ones who had already resigned, but many of them had resigned also and have been relieved. So we are all out on a street, I thought. Then I went out. This gives you a very good, the reason I'm telling you is that is, you asked me the difference between professional and environment, work and all that, and also attitude. This goes to do with attitude because of other reasons. So I went to the staff training college where this was supposed to be, and there was a director or principal, whatever he was called. He was a middle level or maybe a senior officer in the bank, Reserve Bank. I said, what is this? You asked. They said, what am I supposed to do? State Bank won't take me back. I said, what is happening? What are the details? The Reserve Bank letter, they didn't even bother to tell us in detail. Just say there is a stay, so don't join. So I went and asked him. Then he explained to me that the clerical unions have always been, they probably still are, against direct recruitment
Yeah,
because
they won't promote people to be promoted, That's right.
exactly. So exactly, it is still the same,
Mm,
probably still the same. So
mm,
I said that is all fine, but Reserve Bank of India owes it to us to take all efforts. And what are they going to do? They must give us an option. What are we supposed to do? And also, I said, the clerical, you see, the whole process from the time you write the exam up to the time you get your appointment order, joining date, is probably 1.5 years,
mm,
or at least minimum 1 year. I said they should have done that a year ago. They said, yeah, the unions deliberately do it like this just to create trouble. They could have done it a year ago. Then, before correcting the papers and interview and all that, we would have stayed in our job. They said that is the way the unions operate. Yes, that is true. It is not his fault. Then I said, what are we supposed to? He said, I don't really know. I said, what are we going to do? I said, this is decided at central office, Bombay. I said, I don't. And he said, I cannot tell you anything more because it's not in my hands. Even if you I went to the Reserve Bank of India local office. You know who was in charge? The manager was Janaki Raman, who was later uh, the head of the Arshad Mehta scandal. Some committee they formed, the Janaki
okay.
Raman committee, I think.
Yeah.
He was the one who investigated a report on all that. He became a very senior person in the Reserve Bank. Good man. But anyway, so I went directly to him because I was in Chennai.
Mm,
And he said, I'll have to find out. And then I went to, you go and talk to the personnel officer,
mm,
PO. He might give it. And I asked him, that fellow was that bastard. Was sorry, excuse me. That gentleman,
mm,
extremely arrogant. The typical. He said, no, I have nothing to tell you. Nothing to tell you. He basically asked me to get out.
mm,
Uh, and then I was so unhappy. Then I went and went to another person. I don't know why I went to this. Another guy who was in charge of ECD, all senior officials in charge
mm.
of Exchange Control Department. He was an extremely good man. It depends on the person also.
Yeah,
Then I told him they're not even giving me information, and can you help me out at least to get information? I don't know why. I need to know what I can do. He was so apologetic. He was a very senior man. He said, I'm just pained to hear this is the way the bank is acting. People like, 120 people, bright people who they
yeah.
wanted. Now they let them on the street. I will find out. Anyway, and I don't know what he said here. They are looking into it. And he was a nice man, but he's not. He's all decided at the central office. That's it. Now,
Certainly,
the
certainly.
next thing I did was I went back to the State Bank of India, Reserve Bank of India Staff College. I said, I would like to know the list of people and the addresses of 120 people who are coming for training, who have been selected. Fortunately, that gentleman, he said, yeah, go ahead. Some clerk, he said, show it to him. And I made cyclostyle. Those days it's called cyclostyle.
Yes, agnostle, yes.
I made cyclostyle copies of. No, they won't give you that thing. So I had to write down the addresses on a notebook, and then went and then I typed up a letter saying this is what it is. Then I found out. I had to go through all this information single-handedly, but fortunately they helped me. So and I had these addresses, and then I went to my uncle, who was a lawyer, who was a management lawyer. He was in fact, he was one of the management panel lawyers for Reserve Bank and State Bank. He was a very senior counsel in the local high court.
Mm,
He said, what can I do? He said, you have to file. He listened to me. Then he said that you'll have to file a vacate stay. I didn't even know what a stay was, vacate stay. No. He said, you have to file a vacate stay. Your case seems to be pretty straightforward. Reserve Bank should have filed a vacate stay immediately because it makes no sense to stop the recruitment at the penultimate stage when people are about to join.
right.
Because the trial might take 6 months, it may take 2 years. So is it?
Yeah,
They should have done it anyway. You can file a vacate, implead yourself. All these terms I learned there, and he assigned one of his juniors to say do it. And then another uncle of mine was in the appellate tribunal income tax, but basically a lawyer. He in fact appeared for me personally, but it was not necessary actually. Now what happened was, I found out that this is what it is. The unions had done this deliberately, and the central office is not doing anything. So I wrote to all of them, saying to the 120 people, this is what it is. We have to engage a council to implead ourselves in this case. I have talked to this person who is a senior counsel. He didn't charge me anything. He's my uncle, but probably will incur some expenses, and we'll have to write to everybody and do all that and meet and all that. And I said, can each of you contribute 100 rupees? Okay. Because I am spending money and time and everything and meeting lawyers and all that. So I will follow up everything. And in fact, there are 3 or 4 people in Chennai also. I wrote to them also. Out of this 120, believe me, hardly 10 people were willing to contribute. They
Yeah,
thought
so-
they probably thought I was going to drink beer and have a nice party with this.
yeah.
No, that is the Indian attitude, I'm telling you.
Is that-
Even though they were all in the same boat as me, they were out of a job basically, for which they've been selected after a long, arduous process. So anyway, some of them sent me money. Some of them were very good. Some of them said, "Okay, we'll send you in a few days. Let us just think about it and all that." Anyway, so I got some money. And I didn't have a job, and I didn't have any money. My brothers were all, one brother was in the IS, but he was in Assam, and my brother and sister in the US. Yes, I was not starving. I could count on some support from them if I needed it. But anyway, so I was in a rented house in Chennai. So finally, nothing. So I pleaded myself in that case, not on behalf of all of them. A petition was filed by my lawyer that we are pleading ourselves, and this case we were asking for a vacate stay, but then the vacate stay was not heard when it came from us, because we are only pleading ourselves. We were not the original petitioners or the defendants. Reserve Bank of India was the defendant. Then nothing happened. So you know what I did? I went and met every single newspaper editor in Chennai, starting from Hindu, Express, Statesman, Tuklak. Tuklak, Choramaswamy.
Yeah, Choramaswamy.
Tuklak
Yeah.
and the Statesman, and there is something called Sunday Observer from Bombay, very good paper, but I think later died. Not the Sunday Observer, which is there now. And several other newspapers and magazines. I met each one of them, took this all the documents, say, hey, here what it is. You help us. You publicize it. They are not doing anything. Central Reserve Bank doesn't seem to give a shit about us. And Choramaswamy, I met him personally. I'm not with any reference. I just walked into his office. And he seemed pleasant to me. He said, yes, this is absolutely ridiculous. I will publish it. And he published it in the centerfold, and in a 2-page thing, saying the Reserve Bank India, this acting like this, they brought 120 bright people of our nation to the street. That is literally what he wrote in Tamil. And all the papers, Statesman, the Times of India, and all of them published it in the news. In Indian Express, actually, the editor was a guy called Said Naqvi. I don't know if the name is familiar to you.
Said Naqvi, yes.
Yeah, he was the editor then. And Javed Naqvi, he writes very well. He's of course with the SFI and all that. That is different. He writes really well. He writes excellent English. He writes for the Dawn of Karachi, Anyway, so Said Naqvi, and he was also very good. And especially if you say you're from JNU, that gives you an additional, some at least.
Certain.
And then he looked at us. Yeah, he said I publish it, and published it on the front page. So this got so much publicity, and I'm telling you, not because of pride. I'm just saying the fact that nobody else didn't have the initiative to do something like this. Nobody else in the whole nation. I wrote to them. Nobody did anything like this. And even in Chennai, there are 4 or 5 of them, and unfortunately, all of them are upper middle class kind of thing. At least half of them are Brahmins. All have the same attitude. No, we should not get into trouble, kind of thing. Why risk? And still nothing happened. Finally, I knew a member of parliament, Rajya Sabha member only. He was an ADMK man, but a very educated man. He died, and I knew him. So I went to him. I said, sir, can you please raise a question in parliament? He said, yeah, sure. And he was a kind of person who didn't say much in Parliament. So he was probably happy to have something to talk about.
Yeah.
He raised up the question in Parliament today. Next day morning, literally, Central Office told Chennai office to file a vacate stay petition. Next day, for nearly a month and a half, they did nothing. And the next day, that is when I realized, parliamentary MPs have the kind of power they have.
Certainly.
They misuse it, but the next day they did that, no questions asked. So what stopped them from doing it for for nearly a month and a half?
Before that, yeah.
It is all your people. You selected them. They are going to work for 35 years in your bank. Still, you don't give a shit. That is the typical management attitude in India. And the